Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to our SummerSlam Night 2 post show. I am Vinny of Suds Media, and this is Michael of Kicking Out of Two Podcast. Big Mike from the Run-In will be joining us shortly. We might also be having Candice Mack from So Party 411 and all this other stuff. And my first thoughts are, just like Michael Cole said on the recording itself, on the show itself, holy shit.
Yeah. I've got a few other words I'd like to say about that, but
it was a fantastic night 2 of SummerSlam, top to bottom, and I'm going to bring Big Mike to the stage. Mike, welcome.
What's going on, guys? How you doing tonight?
Just finishing the aftermath of SummerSlam Night 2.
Jesus.
yeah.
I made a post earlier that on nights like this, for certain matches, I wish Joey Styles was the commentator. Especially that TLC match, but all night it's been oh my god moments.
Yeah, it's a step up from last night.
Yes,
as far as there wasn't as much lulls. I think the women's match may have been a little underdone. But other than that, like it was fine. It was a better night to me.
I agree. Mike, your initial thoughts on night 2 of SummerSlam 2025.
I agree with Michael. It was better than last night. Up until that last match, I don't think it lived up to what I expected it to be. I was in a group chat with a couple of guys, and it was just it was similar to last night, to where if like this was a Raw or a SmackDown or something like that, it would be a great show. But on what's supposed to be the second best pay-per-view or PLE of the year, it wasn't what I thought it would be. I guess is the best, and that's not me saying it's a bad show at all.
Right.
But up until that last match, man, which good Lord, we'll get into that last match, but it just I don't know, something just felt off a little bit.
I agree. I really did think that night 2 was a better night. Last night's show didn't live up to hype. I was not on the post show last night, but the whole thing, and I was cursing last night because I did not want Seth Rollins to cash in the Money in the Bank. But tonight it was more of an excitement cursing, because as we all saw, Brock Lesnar came out to confront John Cena after Cody Rhodes won the WWE Undisputed Championship. But either way, we're going to get started with our analysis of Night 2. Night 2 kicked off with the triple threat match for the Women's World Championship. We had Rhea Ripley versus Naomi versus Io Sky. And in my opinion, it was probably one of Io Sky's better matches. I didn't see blatant choreography like I normally do. And Naomi ended up going over, Rhea taking the pin, and I thought it was a really great match. Mike, we'll start with you. What are your thoughts on the women's triple threat match?
Me or Mike or this other match?
I got to distinguish. Mike from the Run-In. We'll start off with you.
So yeah, just stick with Big Mike. That's the easiest way to do it. I thought it was a really good match. I didn't think it was a great match. It wasn't as good as the WrestleMania match with Bianca Belair. It wasn't as good as the Evolution match to me with just Io and Rhea. And maybe that's part of what my problem was, is I expected it to be more. Again, kind of what I said at the beginning of the show. it was a good match. I mean, again, if I'd have seen that match tomorrow night on Raw, I'd have been saying that's one of the greatest Raw matches we've seen in a while.
Mhm.
But I guess shame on me for expecting more for the night 2 of the second biggest show of the year. It just didn't hit as much as the other 2 matches that Rhea and Io have had. But yeah, I mean, I didn't think Naomi would win. I didn't pick Naomi. I was the only one that didn't pick Naomi. So obviously, what the hell was I thinking? In our predictions.
Right.
So again, on me. But yeah, a really good match. I love all 3 women, and they kicked off the show with a good one.
Yeah, it was. You're right. It would have been a fantastic Raw match. I don't know. Rhea and Io. I'm not a huge fan of Io. I've said it before. She's a fantastic athlete. I really expected Naomi to win, but I wanted Rhea. But Michael, how about you? What are your thoughts about the opening triple threat match?
So I can agree with you, and I think it's the ending. I think the ending is what does it. Like, and don't get me wrong, I loved the ending for what it was, because it's Rhea once again not being able to close the deal with Io. We get a chicken shit heel type of win. That's all good, but that type of win at a pay-per-view kind of lets the wind out of the sails for the rest of the match. It's like, okay, we had a great match, but a roll-up? We won on a roll-up. Okay.
Yeah.
Like that to me is just kind of deflates it.
Yeah, that's fair.
So hey, just checking in with the chat. Zach Minger, happy National Watermelon Day. Well, happy National Watermelon Day to you as well. Ultimate Sports Network, holy, oh my God. Michael Norton reposted the stream. And hey, Cass, how are you? Welcome to the chat. Thank you for joining us tonight as we go over night 2 of SummerSlam, the first 2-night SummerSlam in history. And I have to say, before we get into more of the matches, I feel like this was almost the answer to some of the Attitude Era type of pay-per-views. Almost every match, there was one match on the card that did not have a stipulation of that resulted in no DQ, no count out. And that was the Dominic Mysterio and AJ Styles matchup. Do you think that the no DQ part was overdone tonight? Either one of you guys could start.
I think with it being different steps, I think it's okay. Like if they all had just been no DQ, that's a bit much. But with them all having a different end result of how to get there, I think that made it okay. I would like to see a few more like clean just matches, but I mean, I don't think it was necessarily overdone.
I think if you would have swapped a couple from night 1 and night 2 to kind of even the 2 nights out, because obviously you didn't have any of it last night. Because when you look at it, we didn't really have a whole lot of interference, as far as that's concerned. You had the Fatu and Solo match, which had a lot of interference. But, and correct me if I'm wrong, I don't think anybody else. I don't think there were any other run-ins or anything like that.
The Wyatt shenanigans.
But in the TLC match, but you kind of expect that. So, and yeah, you're right. There was some in there, but for the most part, the matches that were supposed to be, one-on-one, so on and so forth, that's what it was.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I don't think it was overdone. I do think, like I said, they could have balanced out night 1 and night 2, maybe thrown some of the other ones over and had some of the steps tomorrow night. But I think they wanted to build up to the crescendo of having all steps, all night 2 to try to be the bigger night. I think that was done purposely by the WWE.
Yeah. And it could have been because you notice, I mean, based on their numbers, they did sell 5,000 more tickets for night 2 than they did on night 1. So they were really pushing that bigger night.
Since you brought up the ticket sales, I want to say something that did kind of stick in my craw a little bit. Stephanie McMahon, that's not how numbers work. You can't add night 1 and night 2 and be like, we've had the biggest SummerSlam ever. Last night's people weren't here tonight. Tonight's people weren't there last night.
Right.
I had two separate events.
Yeah.
I understand flubbing of numbers. Every company does it where they say in attendance, which means all the staff that's there, all the crew that's there, like it adds everybody.
Right.
But adding the two nights of two separate events on the like that's
But
that's
to be fair, every sport does that. Like when somebody lengthens a season and records start getting broken, they don't start saying, "Well, this record only got broken because we added 10 games or 2 games." It's well, no, this is the new record. So I won't blame WWE for that because every sports league does it.
okay.
Yeah.
That's fair enough.
We may actually get a run-in, for, no pun intended, from John from Chairshot Sports. He is live in East Rutherford at MetLife Stadium. He was there in attendance, which is why I took point on tonight's post show.
And I'd love to hear from him because,
Yeah.
and again, correct me if I'm wrong. In my opinion, the crowd both nights was awfully quiet until that last match.
Yeah.
Like I didn't hear them a lot of the night. Some a little bit during the Dom match with the Dom chants, but for the most part, it didn't. Either the microphones that they normally have to catch the crowd noise weren't positioned correctly, or the crowd just wasn't that loud on.
Well, and even visually, because like you had that moment where Bubba Ray's trying to start a chant with the people behind him, and like nobody's reacting to it.
Yeah.
Behind him, it was a bit quiet.
We kind of saw that in Vegas too for Mania, and I think the biggest problem is with the way that the ticket price structure is now for WWE, especially for the PLEs. They may have priced out a lot of their hardcore dedicated fans that will chant. I mean, and now you get a lot of, people that will spend the money to go just to go. And, maybe like corporate people will show up. I mean, you saw a lot. You did see a sea of WWE shirts in the crowd, and, there were kids there, but you're right. The energy of the crowd up until the last match was just not there. And I think some of the matches suffered because of that.
Yeah, I think that's one of the things that hurt my viewing of it is, especially if you're in an arena. Yeah, you may sell 10,000 less tickets, but they sound like 15 to 20,000 more.
Mm-hmm.
I've made this point, and not to bring up AEW a lot, with the venue they're in Chicago right now. They have that venue only holds like 1,200 people, but they sound like 20,000.
Yeah,
because of the way the venue is set up. I mean. And maybe it's just MetLife. I didn't get that for WrestleMania. I thought the crowd was pretty good for WrestleMania. I heard them a good bit. But last night, it just didn't seem like I heard them a lot. Now, again, in the Cena match, you heard them all night, the whole match there. So
yeah.
I don't know.
Well, and yeah, so I mean, if we could hear that from John to hear like their live, because even the performers say it all the time, is that working in arenas are a lot harder because you don't have the sound hitting the ceiling and bouncing back. It's just going in the ether, and there's no reverb to it, so we don't hear anything. They don't hear it when it's in the ring.
No, you're exactly right. Both valid points, and I really hope that John comes on in and gives us a report. Match 2 was the TLC 6 tag team match. 12 people in the TLC match. I thought it was great, them showing the Hardy Boys and the Dudley Boys in the audience, kind of paying homage to 25 years ago, the first.
Wasn't there a third team involved in that first TLC match?
There was.
I'm not sure why they weren't there.
Yeah. Agreed. And it was a really good homage to it. And then they brought out the 6 teams. And you know what? I have to say, for a multi-team TLC match, I enjoyed it, and it was probably the best TLC match that I've ever seen. Michael from Kicking Out at 2, what's your take on the TLC?
It was a train wreck. It was a lot of fun. I felt going into this night, I was concerned of where we were going to put this.
Yep.
Because I think we all knew it was going to be great. It was going to be a car wreck. It was going to be Crash TV that we're watching. The other side of it, though, is I have a hard time getting into the Wyatt entrance in the daylight.
Yeah.
Because then it just looks goofy. bunch of emo kids just walking out and sitting a rocking chair down.
There was a
But-
few moments like that early in the show, like the opening fireworks that they did after Triple H kind of had the
Yeah.
same effect. You're like,
It's like
it shows
I
it, but
hear
like, there's no, yeah, it's like, it's just a really big smoke machine.
Yeah.
But fast paced. There was a moment that I forgot, and I don't know if it was just my brain was foggy or what, but I forgot we had 2 masked people in the match. I was like, who's
Yeah.
the other masked guy? Oh yeah, Fraxium's in there. Forgot about that. Yeah, he's got a mask too. But Candace, I think, to me, stole the show.
Oh yeah.
Because good Lord, she took that bump.
Yeah.
I hope that we get some kind of a medical report on her just to see how it went, because I swear she went from the top of the ladder through a ladder, landed face first on the concrete. It looked like it killed her.
Yeah, it looked
But it
bad.
looked like she went through the ladder on her side.
Yeah.
Like her left side coming down was what hit, which was the scary part,
Yeah.
because if she'd have come down rightly, I mean, it's still going to hurt like hell, but at least she's protected. But the way she came down was, ooh.
Yeah, I was
There was a
little
couple
let down
times
by
in that
who
match that
won,
was scary.
but that's just because I don't know. I don't like the Wyatts with belts. I don't.
Yeah,
That
it
should
seems
not be
like
their focus.
their gimmick doesn't need the belts. But who are we to talk? We're just the fans that analyze this stuff. I thought the match was great for a car wreck. And I'm not usually one that likes the multi-person ladder matches, but this one had a lot of holy shit moments. It had a lot of just different things that you wouldn't always see in ladder matches. Obviously, Candice LeRae's bump was one of them, and you had the one. It was I forgot who it was, but they threw Montez Ford over the ring, over
Over the table that they had set up.
Yeah,
Yeah. So, just an overall.
I think that was DIY that threw it.
DIY. You're right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I did like the homage to the spear while someone's hanging from the belt.
Yes.
I do feel like it would have been better if he would have just, like, for lack of a better term, ate shit on that rather than
Yep.
landed and rolled. Like,
Yeah.
just literally be like, oh, you think you're going to do that spot? Nope.
Yeah.
Well, and good on him, because if I'm not mistaken, he's the one that took that spear in the other TLC match.
I
I
think
think
so,
he hung and got speared during that, so it kind of shows him progressing. Like, okay, well, this happened to me last time, not this time. Fool me twice, shame on me, kind of thing. I learned from that last time.
Upper
So
body
I liked
strength
that
of
part.
Macho Ciampa. Amazing.
Fool me
to
twice.
be able
You
to
can't
hang up
fool me
there.
again.
Yeah, I mean, my biggest gripes for the match was, one, I agree with Michael. I don't think the Wyatts. I think this would have been a great way to put the belts on another team without having to hurt the Wyatts.
Yep.
And it's gonna sound selfish, but I think it should have lasted longer. It was only 17 minutes.
Yeah.
And to have 6 teams, and I'm not saying you had to do more crazy spots, but you could have let some of them breathe a little bit instead of automatically jumping into the next one trying to rush.
Yeah.
That was my only gripe about the match itself.
Yep.
Like when they went around and did the table spot almost on all 4 sides of the ring, I thought that would have been cooler if they would have let it breathe and let it kind of build some momentum instead of just boom, 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 boom like they did. So I think that may have hurt a little bit of the timing a little bit. But other than that, I mean, I enjoyed it. Other than the fact that I don't think it was long enough, it should have had some time to breathe and move
Agreed.
around a little bit.
When I think that just the way that wrestling is nowadays, it is too fast paced, and certain matches like this one did suffer from the lack of time. But WWE has also been putting in a lot more ads, a lot more packages, a lot more other stuff into their PLEs, and taking time away from the wrestling, which is par for the course for the company at this point, especially TKO era, which I'm not complaining about.
Yeah, I was my group chat had, Herb and Raj, who was on our show on Friday, and that was one of Herb's major major gripes was, man, I mean, this is a PLE. Why do we have commercials after every match? I get promoting the next match or something like that, but we're getting just random commercials.
Yeah.
And he was frustrated with that. And even as a casual fan, which is what you're trying to bring in, with them noticing that even more. I mean, it's at some point you got to look at it and say we need to dial it back a little bit.
Yeah,
exactly. Especially for people that pay for ad-free tiers. Like what they used to do was, for all the people on the ad-free tier, we're going to show you how we got to this match and show the promo package during that ad.
Yeah.
But
yeah, and the more they talked about it, the more it made me want some Mike's Harder Lemonade.
Yes, you're absolutely right.
For people that had to listen to that ad read 75 times, they needed Mike's Harder Lemonade.
Yeah. Yep. All right. Moving on to match 3, the no DQ, no count out women's intercontinental match between Lyra Valkyria and Becky Lynch. Becky Lynch coming out with a brand new theme song, which is not Def Rebel. I'm not sure who the band is, but it did sound like a great, new song. Apparently they wanted to get away from the crowd, singing with Becky's song because she's a heel and her song is catchy and she's had it for over a decade at this point. I have to say, I'm impressed with that match. Lyra Valkyria is showing her toughness. She didn't get the victory in this match, which means as long as Becky has the IC title, she won't be able to challenge for it. But I see big things for Lyra Valkyria. She really broke out of the rut that she was in, or whatever they were doing to hold her back prior to WrestleMania. Her personality's been coming out recently, and now her toughness. Big Mike, what do you see with Lyra and Becky and the Bayley interference?
So the match up to that point and up until the main event was the match of the night for me. It was a really good match. I enjoyed it. I didn't have a whole lot of notes on it until the end. I get the miscue by Bayley costing Lyra, but it makes the waters more murky. This was Lyra's last chance to go after the title. If you were going to do something like that, let her help Lyra win, and then her and Lyra can go after it. But now, with Bayley doing it like that, does Bayley and Lyra have another match? Does Bayley go directly after Becky? It's a lot of murky water in the future for that which I was hoping coming out of SummerSlam would be a little bit clearer. Okay, Lyra, you lost. You're going to go off and do something else. Now Bayley and Becky can focus on each other, but it still kind of keeps them all together in that little jumbled mess of a title picture. And I was just kind of hoping for something a little bit clearer after that. That was the biggest gripe I had of that. But overall, it was second best match of the night for me.
Agreed. Michael, what about you? What are your thoughts on Lyra and Becky?
I would have to say I'm right there with you. Like that was a damn good match. Lyra took some punishment, which if you look past in history, that's something that's always brought someone to the next level. You had Randy Orton or Triple H going against Cactus Jack or Mick Foley to elevate them to show, okay, we're not just pretty boys, we can take a beating. Yep. This was her taking a beating, being zip tied, hung up, hit with the kendo stick. Like, oh God, all of that was just crazy. Wade not knowing how a moonsault works kind of confuses me a little bit, because how'd she get rotation with her hand zip tied? That's not how a moonsault works, man. Okay. His hand zip tied. Can't do a moonsault.
And the fact that she came unzip tied and had to re-zip tie herself kind of in the middle of the match didn't help.
But yeah, the ending of it does make it a lot more murky. And like, to me, I'll add another caveat to it of, we could even negate the fact that they said that this was the last time, because she could go to Adam Pearce or whoever and be like, yeah, but she cost me the title. She cost me that match.
Mm-hmm.
And then we get a triple threat for it, because they say, well, you're right. It wasn't her fault. Like, you didn't actually lose. It was her. So, we could even murky it that way, and it would make sense, but I don't like it.
Right.
This should have been definitive one way or another of either Lyra wins it and Becky and Bailey go off and do their thing, or Lyra loses it and we go off and separate anyway. Because this whole thing
Lyra
needs to be
and
done.
Bailey go off and do something. So,
Yeah.
I mean, either way, Bailey should be the next contender, but regardless of who it's against, it should have been somebody definitive.
Right.
No, you're right. Ultimately, I was kind of impressed that Lyra Valkyria's entire body fit in the back of that metal chair frame. Like, I'm speaking for myself. That would never ever happen. But
And her doing
Yeah,
a
my wife
drop
mentioned
kick
it.
off that chair was nice too.
Yeah, my wife
Yeah.
mentioned that. She goes, I don't know that anybody else could do that.
no, I don't know anybody else that'd be able to do that. But that was
I
impressive.
mean, there's
It's
probably a few. I'm sure like
Yeah.
Kyrie could do it or somebody. There's a few of the women that could. I'm sure probably. But
Yeah, no,
yeah, it's
agreed.
it was crazy.
And did they buy their kendo sticks at the dollar store this time? Because like those
Think
kendo
so.
sticks
I-
kept breaking.
Okay, I'm glad you mentioned that because this isn't necessarily to this match,
Mhm.
but both of you guys have watched wrestling for a long time, as have I. Has anyone ever explained to anyone why there are kendo sticks under the ring? I get chairs, tables, toolboxes, even like crowbars because you saw the turnbuckle. You got to put something in the
Yep,
turnbuckle to tighten it. Or why do we have kendo sticks under the ring at all?
Yeah,
Has
I
anybody
don't
ever
know.
answered that question?
Well, you see, in 1695, the Shadokan samurais that started wrestling. No, I have no clue. That brings up a whole other like
Yeah,
wrestling makes no sense sometimes. Why is
it's
that
not
there?
that logic to an illogical situation.
I mean, it's not a broomstick, which I would imagine because you have to clean up at the end of the night. It's not anything like that. It's a kendo stick of all.
Mhm.
Damn you,
I mean,
ECW. Sure, they
It would almost make sense if they said, "Oh, here, when they take out the kendo stick, they came down and placed it under there prior to the show."
Bring it down.
to
Bring
you,
it like do the old the old gimmick of bring the trash can or the shopping cart full of
Yeah.
stuff. Like just bring that with you.
exactly. It
You
makes-
know this is
I'm
going to
not-
be a big heavy match. Bring it with you.
And I'm not sure why my brain picked now to ask that question when I was watching that match because it happens all the time.
There's
But
some
as
of
I'm
those that
watching,
came
I'm
to me.
going, what?
Yeah,
Why do we even have those there?
I'll talk about one of those that came to my mind in the street fight.
trust me, Jim Cornette says it all the time. So, moving on.
Well,
to
apparently
match
Candace
number-
is okay. So to answer your question, apparently Candace is okay. She is currently on the post show right now. She's at least standing.
Oh, okay.
She's got some ice, but she's in an interview right now. So I don't see any braces or bandages or anything. So apparently she is okay.
Speaking of updates, has anybody seen any update on Braun?
I've heard that reports say he's fine.
Okay.
He was helped to the back last night. He was limping. It looked like a little bit, but
They had him
according to all
wrapped up pretty
reports-
good at that last spot. So
Yeah. According to all reports that he's fine, it just maybe a twinge in the knee or something like that. It wasn't anything major.
I don't know, maybe he's faking it like Seth did.
Well,
yeah,
the sad part is that makes me a horrible human because I was sitting there thinking, wouldn't that be just some crap if he got a real leg injury after doing
Yeah.
the fake leg injury gimmick? Because no one's gonna believe it. They're gonna be like, "When's he coming back?"
before we move on with night 2, I do have to give my thoughts about that. I have to give Seth Rollins credit for keeping kayfabe because he was, on the crutches while he was with his kids and all this other stuff. And, maybe he still does have an injury and it's not as serious as they were reporting. It makes me question now the Saturday night's main event finish that we've all been told would change, whether LA Knight was in on it or not, because the original plan was Seth Rollins and LA Knight again at SummerSlam. So it begs the question: was Seth Rollins working the entire company? Which I can't imagine if they, did the whole thing with the Money in the Bank just to screw over LA Knight, or that brings up like a whole nother can of worms as to how they're, LA Knight lost out on a SummerSlam match because of this supposed injury. So was it all a work? I don't know. I may not know, but that's the beauty of wrestling.
Yeah, I think this is a situation where both things can be true. I think he probably did tweak his knee to a degree where he was actually thought he may be hurt. I'm sure he probably really did come to Birmingham on Monday and get it looked at, get it checked out. But it may have been just that it's a sprain, and they're like, well, okay, we're going to ride this, and this is what we're going to do with it. So I think both things can be true.
Yeah, I'm great with being worked. So if it was a work in the long run, I'm great with that. I will say I'm going to shout out Big Mike's partner, Sped, a little bit because he did post a thing. I've had some knee surgeries too, so I know how that works. I will say it kind of went on a little long for me to believe that it wasn't a work of them saying we've heard nothing of what's going to happen. Like they could have said, hey, it still looks bad in there, but they need this to heal. Like they could have said something to kind of cover that up rather than just, well, we haven't heard if it needs surgery or anything yet. No, you would have heard something by now.
Right. Yeah, and they had the initial one where, like, after he left Birmingham, they said it was still too swollen or something like that. But after that, you're right, they didn't have any other update.
Yeah.
Other than Paul Heyman saying he's going to be out for an extended period of time.
Yeah, exactly. The only thing I know is now Monday Night Raw is going to end up having, Seth Rollins promo again, which it was nice for the time he wasn't there.
Seth Rollins starting the show for 20 minutes. It's all right.
Yeah, exactly.
Shout out. I don't know if you guys watched the pre-show. I was kind of watching it here and there. Shout out to the lookalike guy at the pre-show who sounded exactly like Seth Rollins.
Yes.
I had not seen that. I'll have to go back and look at it.
Yeah, they had like a cosplay contest before each show, and there was one of the guys as Seth Rollins, and he looked a lot like he had a good cosplay as Seth Rollins. You obviously knew it wasn't, but when he started talking, it sounded exactly like Seth Rollins talking.
Yeah,
glad you brought that one up and not the Naomi one. I appreciate that.
There were really good cosplayers in the pre-show tonight. I saw somebody dressed up as Triple H.
Macho Man was really good.
Yeah. But all right, moving on to match number 4, we had the steel cage match for the United States Championship. Solo Sikoa defending against Jacob Fatu. We saw the MFTs get involved. Jimmy Uso got involved. Eventually, the one thing I have to gripe about in this match, there's always going to be an interference in steel cage matches because the whole point is to keep people out. Tama Tonga handcuffed Jacob Fatu to the top of the steel cage. They didn't even show the part where Jacob Fatu broke the chain of the handcuffs. Like for a WWE production team to miss that spot, I understand there was a lot going on, especially around the door area, but they couldn't catch him breaking the, breaking the chains to get loose to keep Solo from going out. So that's my one gripe. Overall, I thought the match was great. I know Jacob is going up to the main event level. Hopefully they kind of break him away from this whole bloodline MFT, family drama and get him into something different because that's where he'll shine. I think the whole, MFT drama is holding him back. That's my take on it. Solo won. He kept the title. Which, it is what it is. Maybe they have plans for Solo. Maybe they have, plans for a mid-card faction with this MFTs that are going to run roughshod. I just want to see Jacob Fatu get away from it. Michael, your thoughts on the steel cage match?
This was one of the 2 letdowns for me. You're telling me you're going to put Jacob Fatu and Solo Sikoa in a steel cage. I figured it was going to be a lot more hard hitting. I figured it was going to be a lot bigger, and it just wasn't. We rushed into bringing the MFTs down, and then Jimmy came down by himself, and for some reason, Jimmy going 3-on-1 is okay. He can do okay for himself.
Yeah.
him not bringing more help with him didn't make any sense to me. And I agree with you. The production miss, which I mean, it happens. I'm not going to harp on it too bad, but yeah, someone had to have gotten yelled at for that because they had to go back, and Cole was like, "I understand we got footage of him breaking the handcuff. Let's go to that footage." Like they had to redirect and go back to that to show it. But it just, the match itself didn't hit for me. It wasn't hard hitting. It wasn't what I expected when you say I'm going to put two big Samoan bastards fighting each other in a cage.
Yeah. Mike, how about your thoughts? Big Mike.
I completely agree. This was my biggest letdown of the night. Just because, again, I expected more, and maybe that's shame on me. But much like Michael talked about, I'm thinking you've got Jacob and Solo in a steel cage. Jacob specifically in a steel cage. There's going to be a lot more hard hitting. There's going to be a lot more craziness. There's going to be a lot more of a lot of stuff. I expected maybe a Tama Tonga return, regardless of which side he joined. I personally would have thought he could join Jacob's side to help, Jimmy and Jacob. But nobody debuting or coming out. You didn't get anything. You didn't get anything new really. And to me, that's the biggest part of both of my biggest letdowns of the weekend is it just didn't progress anything. This match didn't progress the story of Jacob Fatu and Solo Sikoa at all, because you didn't add anything to it. It's the same thing that it's been the past month since Tala Tonga came. It's been the exact same thing. Jimmy's been around to help, but it's been Tala Tongaloa and JC Mateo with the numbers game with Solo, and it's just, I thought we would have added something to it.
Yeah.
And we just didn't.
And we had two perfect things, or at least one of them that you could have added in, because we're done with that now with Jimmy and Roman and the Seth Riders.
Yeah.
We could have easily had Jay run down when Jimmy got kicked in the face.
And the crowd wanted it, because that was one of the times you could hear him chanting.
Yeah. So, I mean,
Jimmy went down.
Just adding that would have elevated a little bit of like, oh, well, now we get the Usos back to help even the numbers.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
that's something we can go for. And then you have the Roman thing in the background of Jay going to him maybe later and saying, "Hey, I helped you with the Seth thing. Why don't you help me with this thing? Let's get the band back together."
Yeah.
Did you just call the group the Seth Riders?
Yes, that's Stampede's line.
That is the Chair Shot Sports official name, thanks to Stampede.
However, they did copyright a name today, the Vision.
The Vision.
Which is probably what that's going to end up referring to.
Which is what I said they should be called at the beginning.
It made sense because a visionary vision.
Yeah, which makes sense. No, and I'm seeing the theme. Normally, WrestleMania, SummerSlam, Survivor Series, not so much. Royal Rumble though. We're always the blow off pay-per-views. You finish the stories, you're progressing, going on to different storylines, different feuds. And this whole SummerSlam maybe finished one story. It finished the story of John Cena and Cody Rhodes. I would say Jade and Tiffany as well, from last night. But outside of that, they really...
Yeah, I don't know that Jade and Tiffany really had a story to finish.
Right.
That was just the Queen of the Ring kind of thing.
I mean, that was kind of part of that problem of there was really nothing behind that match.
Exactly. But, and then kind of looking at Gunther and CM Punk, it was a one-off match. CM Punk is going to feud with Seth. There really weren't many blow-offs, and I think that's one of the biggest things. With Solo and Jacob, that story should have ended with the steel cage match. But again, it hasn't. Now it's going to move on to another chapter.
Well, and I'll disagree a little bit on that.
Okay.
It either should have ended it or it should have made it go further. But now we're just stagnant. We're exactly where we were last week with this story of it's Jacob and Jimmy versus him and the MFTs. We're in the
Yeah.
exact same spot. Nothing has changed. If we would have at least progressed something
Yeah.
to make it, okay, we're leading this, because I think we've all watched it enough. I think we all know this is probably leading to Survivor Series, to
Yeah.
have another Bloodline type Survivor Series. Why didn't we progress that? Add someone to it, anybody, just to go, okay, we have another member of this. Now we can run that for the next month to get to the next pay-per-view.
Yeah. I do question why they brought Jeff Cobb, JC Mateo in to just be the lackey for Solo. I would have thought by now they would have kind of, I'm not saying that he's going to turn on Solo, but I would have liked to see him have a few, big time matches, have him get in there and be involved with Jacob one-on-one and set up a match for Clash in Paris or something.
So here's the problem with that is they did the same thing with Jacob. They brought Jacob in to be
Right.
Solo's heavy, but the problem is JC just hasn't gone over the same way Jacob did. They were brought in the exact same position. So I don't know. I'm not going to blame WWE for that so much, because he was given the exact same opportunity that Jacob did.
Yeah.
Jacob just took it and ran with it, and it seems like JC is just kind of there.
Well, and I don't want to downplay Mateo, because Mateo, like, he's had a great career.
Yeah.
But I think the difference being is that Jacob Fatu has such a presence and has such a personality that even in a background role, you wanted to look at him. And to me, that was almost a detriment to Solo, of you've got this bigger than life personality back here, and the yelling of "I love you, Solo," like that stuff got over more than Solo. Where JC Mateo is literally just playing a background heavy. They don't really give him a mic. They don't let him talk. They don't let him do anything. And he's playing that role instead of trying to push forward with what 15 seconds of fame that they're giving him.
Same with Tama Tonga.
More with it. Yeah.
Tama Tonga got over with the the noises he makes and stuff like that got over because they didn't really give him a microphone either. And it's just what they did with what little time they had got them over. And JC just seems to be content being that guy.
Yeah.
Yeah. Exactly. He just hasn't done anything to break out and kind of bring the spotlight onto him, even ever so small. Match number 5 is what I like to call the Eddie Guerrero memorial match. Dominic Mysterio defending his Intercontinental Championship against AJ Styles. Great match. A lot of callbacks to Eddie. Obviously, AJ coming on a lowrider. A number of stuff that Eddie did during matches, including Dominic unzipping his boot so that when AJ goes for the calf crusher, boot comes off, a la, Eddie and Kurt Angle. Fantastic match. I loved it. I love the callbacks to Eddie Guerrero, but with both guys, and of course it's celebrating, Dominic Mysterio being, 20 years before, since his SummerSlam debut in the custody on a pole match with Eddie and Ray. Ultimately, fantastic match, but a bit of a letdown based on the fact that this was the only non-stipulation match. No, it wasn't Extreme Rules. It wasn't no DQ, no count out. It was just the match, and I think the crowd kind of took this as a let me up match. Big Mike, I'll start with you. What's your take on Dom and AJ?
Well, I think the fact that it was just a regular match helped it be exactly what it needed to be. Because if this was a no DQ match, half of those spots that they try to do to honor Eddie Guerrero, like the chair spot where you hit it on it and throw it to your opponent, doesn't work.
Yeah.
So I mean, I think that was a strategic thing to place it in this spot as a regular match and not a stip match,
right?
Because this is what they wanted to do, and they knew if it's a no DQ match, if it's anything other kind of match, we can't play off of what we want to do with it.
Yeah.
So I loved the match. I kind of blame the crowd a little bit. They got into it with Dom a little bit, but I think that's where that missed some throughout the match. Although the Dom chants are cool. I mean, you did hear some of that, but I the way it ended, the way he unzipped the boot, all the callbacks to Eddie, I loved it.
Yeah. How about you, Michael? Your thoughts on Dom and AJ?
I mean, the callbacks were amazing. Styles wearing a version of Eddie's tights, which was the same version, just he had Styles written on the butt instead of Latino. I couldn't read his shirt. I wanted to read the shirt so bad.
It said Styles Heat. It was the same
thing. It said Styles Heat. Okay.
Styles Heat.
I figured it was some sort of conglomeration of it, but I could not read the words. I'll steal Mike's line from earlier with the TLC match, though. I wish this would have got more time. It felt quick. But yeah, I mean, just Dominic kind of one-upping the Latino Heat reference in it. Of he tried to do the chair shot spot, he did the boot spot. That's to me, that stuff made this match a great match. It shows his growth in this.
Yeah,
I do wish they would have talked more about the fact of this being the anniversary of that match more, because when they said it right before the match, I'm like, oh, it has been. Okay, all right.
Yeah.
Because then, to me, AJ could have ran with that too, of being like, "I'm your daddy," because he's doing this match at the anniversary of it. But it was a great match. I just feel like it was too short, but I think it was great. And as much as I wanted AJ to win, because I think that would have been a better story, and then Dom ends up winning the Mega Championship later.
Yeah.
It was great though. He won, and it was a chicken shit way to do it, and a nice callback to his dad.
Yeah. I enjoyed it too. Obviously, Dominic Mysterio retained the title and kept the Intercontinental Championship. What's next for AJ? Does AJ go to TNA to get the TNA belt off Trick Williams? Does he move on to another feud? Maybe another member of Judgment Day. Do we see a rift with Judgment Day? Because I did, Finn, JD, they weren't on at all this weekend. Obviously, you had Raquel and Roxanne lose the women's tag team belts last night. Where do we see things going from here in terms of both Judgment Day and AJ Styles?
I think with AJ, I think we run it back. I think we run it back at Paris. The way that ended, I think he's got a good way to say, like, look, he didn't win it the right way. Give me another shot at it. I'll beat him.
And now you make it a stipulation.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah, I could see that. I think the Judgment Day is in a holding pattern until Liv comes back. I think that's when they'll really start their breakup angle. So I don't think we get a whole lot there. I think it's going to be status quo. I mentioned last night on the post show, you had to pull the trigger on Charlotte and Alexa just because of how they're progressing. So I get them losing those titles, and it doesn't really hurt. It gives Liv a reason to be mad when she comes back. So they were going to lose them at some point anyway before she came back, I would imagine. But yeah, I think the Judgment Day is just in a holding pattern until she comes back. Then they'll start the whole breakup angle and whoever goes where.
Yeah. Makes total sense. I say book it. Or at least for the Judgment Day, put in a holding pattern. But I agree. AJ and Dom could go again, especially if Dominic does win the AAA Mega Championship at Triple Mania. This way he'll be able to devote more time to AAA.
I got a sneaky feeling that Mega Championship maybe going north of the border.
Yeah, El Grande Americano. And for all the controversy it caused up here in the U.S., the Mexicans love it down in AAA,
which is so strange.
He got a huge pop.
He went down there to be played as like the person that they would root against, and they love it. They love the whole thing.
Exactly. That just shows the different wrestling culture between the U.S. and and Mexico.
Well, I think it shows a different culture altogether. But
Yeah.
that's a whole different show, a whole different story.
And I do
Yeah.
want to say, like, this gimmick, like we added a third one to it. You know, the Vente Butch or whatever we're going to call him. I like this is the new Doink, that we're just
Yeah.
slapping the mask off to the next person, to the next person, the next person. I enjoy it. It's a fun little gimmick.
It is. I'm enjoying it. I think it's a very funny gimmick. And you're right. It is. It's like Doink. You just throw the mask on and you're the next El Grande
Cool.
Americano.
Stupid Chad Gable screwed it all up. Stupid interviews.
Yeah, but then we'll come back with a mask on a pole match.
Yeah, right.
I'm interested to see what they name the third iteration, if that's actually going to be a Grande Americano or if that's going to be like a lackey for Grande Americano, and it's going to be.
I mean, it's got to be a lackey because he was dressed completely different.
Yeah, that's what I was saying, because like everybody tried to make it out like it was another Grande Americano. I'm like, no, I mean he didn't even have the right mask. He did. I think it's just going to be somebody else.
Now, don't get me wrong.
And it will be cool if he
got
gets
that.
a couple of people.
He's got that like huge tattoo, so obviously they had to cover up the arm because that makes it way too obvious.
And they need to pick up one more person so they can. So when Gable does come back, they can have American Made versus Grande Americano and his two people.
It'll be Tyler Bate from.
Yeah, I thought that
Maiden.
too. I thought about that since that one was Pete.
Yeah.
Allegedly.
Supposedly. Don't call him Butch.
Yeah, don't call him Butch. All right. So now we're going to move on to our main event.
Ooh,
of
boy.
the evening. What was that?
I said, "Woo boy."
Yes. John Cena, Cody Rhodes, street fight for the undisputed WWE Championship. At this point, I didn't think there was anything left for them to do that wasn't already done in the show earlier, but they pulled out all the stops. John, they undid the turnbuckle. John Cena pulled out a Canadian destroyer on the concrete.
And then seemed surprised that he did.
Yes, exactly.
Like, oh, shit, that worked.
Fantastic match. I saw that Sean Ross Sapp had posted that Cody Vader, after Cody entered, went back down. So we knew something was gonna, happen there, which they did. They went onto the stage. Cena came up through it with Cody on his back. Multiple attitude adjustments, multiple crossroads, Cody cutters, the STFU. So, I mean, there were multiple finishers in this match. Eventually, Cody Rhodes ends up winning and defeating John Cena, getting his second, undisputed WWE Championship, and ending John Cena's what I believe is his his final reign as WWE Champion, his 17th in the history books. We'll talk about the aftermath afterwards, but for right now, the match itself, John Cena, Cody Rhodes 2. Michael, we'll start with you. What's your take?
Well, first I got to say, Cody's entrance was amazing. That the add-in of Dusty talking before it, him being lowered up before his music hit, so it was just like the silhouette of him before everything actually happened. Such a great visual. And then to fast forward later to the Cody elevator spot, that visual of him being on John's shoulders and the smoke coming up and the light, like, it was just beautiful. That's going to be the thumbnail tomorrow for so many different podcasts that happen. They're going to use that. But I do want to get the negative out of the way. I don't like that this may have started a precedent, because I understand with a match like this, you're going to kick out of finishers. It's going to happen.
Yeah.
But when you kick out of the triple finisher spots, that has been this kills off everybody. That's a bit much. To me, that could have been cut. Let's not do that, because then that literally makes your finisher just look like crap.
Yeah.
You did 3 in a row and it still didn't finish it.
It beat Roman Reigns, but not John Cena.
Exactly.
Yeah.
outside of that, though, to me, that was the only negative, except for the fact that he was wearing low tops, and that distracted me for a long time because I saw the like either Cody Rhodes or John Cena socks sticking up, and I was like, why can I see his socks so high? And then I look and I was like, oh, he's wearing low tops. Why is he wearing low tops? And I couldn't get that off my brain for like 10 minutes. But no, the match was great, though. I think it was exactly what it needed to be, and it circumvented everybody's expectation because all we've heard all this past week has been Cody's going to turn, or this face turn by John is a hoax. No, they both ended face opponents that just went to war with each other. So I'm good with that. I'm good if we're just ending up with still face Cody and face John Cena that just went to war. I just don't like how quick John went face because that just kind of seemed to come out of nowhere. But if that's where we are, that's where we are.
No, I agree. In my opinion, this match is better than the WrestleMania match. Much better. You also didn't have a 6-minute run-in from he who shall not be named.
Fiend.
Yeah. Big Mike, your take on Cena Cody?
I think this match was perfect. I think it played perfectly with the entire story that John Cena has told since Elimination Chamber. I think it gave credence to him turning heel because the first match since he quit being heel and went back to the face, he loses. So it gives a clear reason. Okay, this is why he went heel, because otherwise he wouldn't have won the championship. Because if you get this match at WrestleMania, Cody still wins. They even mentioned it on commentary. You know, the WrestleMania match, Cody didn't know what to expect because this is a John Cena we had never seen. And I think John Cena had to do that at that point because he had the losing streak over the past so many years, everything that had built up to that. I think if you do it right and you tell that story, it gives credence to everything that has happened, even if you leave The Rock and Travis Scott out. So I think the way they played it is perfect. I think the face turn ended up coming because of what happened after. I think without that, I don't know that we get the face turn this past Friday. Again, I agree with Michael. I think it was a little too quickly. I thought maybe it would happen this coming Friday after the loss. But again, I think it plays into the way the match played out. Because if you had heel John Cena come into that, you tell a completely different story in that match. So for what it's worth, for what we got going into that match, I don't think they could have played it any better. And I'm going to get a lot of people saying, well, it's recency bias and all that, but that may be the best John Cena match I've seen.
Yeah.
At least recently. At least.
Okay. Since his full-time run ended, that may be the best John Cena match since his full-time run ended.
Agreed. I completely agreed. I enjoyed the match too. I like that, Cody Rhodes did resort to some underhanded tactics in order to, do what had to be done, instead of hesitating or stalling or whatever. I did like how the match ended. They both stayed babyface. They hugged. They embraced. Almost the passing of the torch. And Michael Cole brought it up. It similar to when Cena beat The Rock in the same stadium, no less, MetLife. And you could kind of create that clear torch bearer passing from, Cena to, or even starting back Hogan to Rock to Cena to Cody, and just the guys that really held that that torch and carried the company, although The Rock didn't. But that's another story. Moving into the aftermath, what mentioned earlier on the show and alluded to, John Cena's in the ring. You hear the "Thank you, Cena," and knowing that this wasn't Cena's very last event, they did keep the camera on Cena for an extended amount of time. It is his last SummerSlam. They wanted to have the crowd thank you, Cena, and all that. and then you hear the music, and here comes Brock Lesnar after a year and a half of not being, being persona non grata in WWE. Apparently, Triple H saying that, he'll come when he's called, and, some other people on the inside saying he was on the banned list. But that all that was put to bed when Brock Lesnar showed up, came into the ring, gave Cena the F5, and you can't have a John Cena retirement tour without Brock Lesnar, who is his, in my opinion, his greatest rival. What are your thoughts? Controversial pick, controversial decision. Do you think that the IWC is going to end up shitting on it, or do you think that there's enough time has passed where he'll be able to navigate the water and not get too much controversy?
I won't speak for the IWC or agree with anything like that, but I'll shit on it. I don't think we needed it. I know you said that you can't have a Cena retirement run without Brock Lesnar, but I think you can. I had no interest in seeing him. I had no interest in seeing him come back. I don't really care to see a Brock Lesnar match. And I wasn't a huge Brock Lesnar fan before all this. And before all the allegations, before any of that, I really wasn't. I mean, it is what it is. Brock Lesnar, yes, he's a legend of the business because of what he's done. But I've never been a huge fan of his, and I could have went without seeing him come back. That's really all I got.
I'm gonna try not to go on a Matt level rant, but
that was my politically correct to bring back last night. That was my politically correct answer.
That's right. But one, I agree. I don't think we need this. Like, to me, and like Mike has said a few times with his opinions, maybe this is on me. Maybe this is because of what I see for his retirement. His retirement should be with people that are in the business right now, that are constant performers right now. Lesnar's not going to come back and be a week-to-week guy. He's not going to.
Right.
He never has been. He never will be. He's going to be the guy that shows up for the major events. As far as him showing up, until they put the lawsuit to bed, his name is still in those documents. So until all of that comes out, we don't know what his involvement is with all that stuff with Vince.
Mm-hmm.
To me, it's just bad optics. You don't bring that guy in until we know what his involvement is in that. And if his involvement is what we have been told by Brock Lesnar apologists is that he was told he was going to get someone sent to him to provide services for him. And he goes, no, I didn't do it. I didn't go through with it. He sent me the messages. If that's what it comes out to be, fine, bring him back. He's a big draw. I get it. I'm with Big Mike. I was never a fan. It was just never my style of wrestling. But as long as there is a question of where he is on that listing, this should not have happened. Bring him back after all that is cleared and all that is done. Okay. But not while we still don't know, especially with something this big, because you're going to tie him with a history-making event of John Cena doing his last, what were three months left?
Yeah, 4 months away. Yeah.
Yeah, they kept saying 4, but it's like 3 because he's leaving early December, so you can't really count December.
So you're going to have him be one of the last 3 matches maybe that he's going to have. That's ridiculous. I don't want it. No, thank you.
It was risky. I will agree. It was a risky choice to bring him back. And I always looked at Brock Lesnar as one of Cena's greatest rivals, but I do agree that a lot of this retirement tour should have been working with the guys that are there every day. Cody, Punk, Orton, etc. R-Truth, etc.
Run that back now that he's back to regular.
Exactly. Cena. Yeah. Now that the kind of the characters have changed a bit, bringing that back, I agree. Gunther is going to be taking some time off, so I don't foresee, Gunther and Lesnar anytime soon unless they're going to build up for WrestleMania. But again, until we find out the exact involvement with, the Janelle Grant situation and what exactly, happened. We know the names in the documents, that's all public knowledge now. We don't know. And, based on what's being told, it could have been, nothing. It could have been he was just his, stuff was sent to him, but he didn't act on it or what have you. He didn't request anything. Then again, that clears his name. But until that happens, it's a very, very risky situation because that does set a precedent. I saw earlier in the chat, somebody brought up Alberto Del Rio. Internal reports are saying that they don't have any place for Alberto. Especially after him, losing the AAA Mega Championship. So everybody was clamoring for him to come back. JBL is saying he's one of the greatest wrestlers in the world, but he has so much baggage in his past, including arrests, assaults, sexual assaults and other stuff, and just stuff that you don't want. That's a PR nightmare for.
And you bring up. Go ahead.
No, and on that point, I will say right now, like Michael said, Brock Lesnar is alleged. It's we don't know. Alberto Del Rio, we know.
Yeah.
Yes,
there's no question what that guy has done. So
exactly.
I won't even say that it's the same thing because we know for a fact, proven by law in court, so on and so forth, that Alberto Del Rio has done the things that we think he has done. At least with Brock Lesnar coming back, yes, it's a question. Yes, it's a possibility, but it is still a question and a possibility. It is not a certainty. So I will give them a little credit on that point alone.
Mm-hmm.
Not that I thought I was going to spend any part of the night defending Brock Lesnar, but yeah, here we are.
Well, and like I had this conversation with Tori not too long ago, and we haven't had it on the show because it's a minefield. Like when you talk about stuff like this. But with the passing of Hogan, that came up a lot as far as like, do we talk about the person or do we talk about the character? You talk about JBL calling Alberto Del Rio one of the best wrestlers in the world, and he's not wrong. He is one of the best wrestlers I've ever seen in the ring. But it's hard to separate that. Kurt Angle went on a interview with Chris Van Vliet, and he's like, I talk about Chris Benoit all the time because if you don't talk about Chris Benoit, you leave out 90% of my greatest matches.
Mm-hmm.
And he's not wrong.
Right.
It's just hard to make that difference of like, this is the person versus the character. And unless there's a separation of that, unless there's a finality to whatever the allegations are for Brock Lesnar, it's hard to make that separation of like, well, this is a horrible person that is good in the ring. What do we do with that?
And you can also make the distinction there that the Hogan thing's a little different because one, obviously he's passed, so he won't be back in the company. Mm-hmm. Like the appearance he had on Netflix should have never happened because of everything going on, and they got that with the crowd reaction. It's one thing to acknowledge that somebody existed and the legacy they had, a la what we've done, and I've personally done with Hogan, even though I'm I've talked about it on my show. I won't bring it up again. But to bring them back physically as a representation of what you are now, that is a completely different thing than saying, hey, this person did this then and was a big part of our history at this point. Mm-hmm. Not, hey, this is who they are now and we're bringing them back in open arms. So there is a disconnect there as well.
Absolutely.
Yeah. And I've talked about it on my other shows, soap opera based shows, as to what is the difference, between soap operas and wrestling in terms of, storyline telling. And, when you're watching General Hospital, you can tell that Maurice Benard is not really a mobster named Sonny Corinthos. The difference with wrestling is it's a live event, it's a live event, genre of entertainment. So you're out there, even though they're playing the character, but Brock Lesnar is Brock Lesnar's real name. Obviously Hulk Hogan's real name was Terry Bollea. So you you can have somewhat of a separation, but it's still the live event. You're still looking at that person all the time, and especially back in those days when kayfabe was all the rage. You know, you were living your gimmick 24/7.
Yeah, well, and
So-
that's where the difference is, because
Right.
in wrestling, it's always had that smoggy area of
Yep.
It's not real, but it is real. It's, you know, we show the world that this is a real thing because we want them to believe it's real. And so
Yes.
our people will carry the belts in the arena, they'll carry the belts in the airport, they'll do the whole gimmick the entire way because we want them to believe it's real. And so then when you open up the world to a social media type of world where they have full access to these people, it's hard for some people to break that in their brain of like, oh, that person that's tweeting or that person I saw at the airport is not the same person I'm seeing on TV. It's hard
Yeah.
for them to make that disconnect. And there's some people that still do that. I mean, there's MJF who still like he acts his character wherever he is. But then
Drew
we just saw a
McIntyre as
video of Logan Paul that was like signing belts for kids in the back, because
Well-
they wanted some autographs from him, and he's being
And the
completely
one today
sweet and really
with
great.
the one today with him and Randy Orton backstage,
Yeah.
chuckling it up
Yeah.
with Cardi B. And even Cardi B's like, "Wait, are you guys supposed to be on camera together? Wait, what?"
Well, and then shows
Yeah.
like Unreal that are breaking it down, like, and we get these backstage looks now. So hopefully that'll eventually clear out and be able to give these people more of a personal life versus an on-screen life.
Yeah.
Well, and even in the Unreal documentary, if you notice, they didn't show a lot of the opponents interacting with each other backstage.
Right.
Like you didn't see Seth Rollins and CM Punk chuckling it up. Yeah, they were in that one meeting where they were talking about the finish of
The
Elimination
ending,
Chamber,
yeah.
where they were having that discussion, but it wasn't like they were backstage just chit chatting and chuckling it up. You know, maybe the Tiffany and Charlotte one was a little bit more because they wanted to focus on that because of everything that went on. But for the most part, you didn't see a lot of people that were going against each other, just, you know, riding down the roads together, chuckling it up, hugging and everything else.
Yeah.
The only other one I would think I remember seeing was maybe the Cody and KO, but we all knew they were friends in real life.
Yeah.
So again, most everybody knew that was kind of a thing anyway.
Yeah. Well, and that broke almost immediately after the match anyway, because then Cody had him on his podcast
Exactly.
and they like completely broke down that wall.
But overall, SummerSlam itself, kind of getting back to what we're here to talk about.
Yeah.
Great conversation as always, but it is, 11 o'clock at night on the East Coast, and people do have to get up for work on a Monday. So we're going to kind of give our final thoughts on SummerSlam Night 2, but also SummerSlam in general. I'd say Night 2 is better than Night 1, and I would give Night 2 an A. I would say Night 2 is definitely an A. Night 1 would have been maybe a B, and then overall B plus for the event itself. Big Mike, what about you? What are your gradings for SummerSlam?
I said last night, Night 1 got a C for me. I stand by that. Night 2 to me gets a B, maybe a B plus. I think overall I would give it just a straight up B. Just kind of averaging it out. Again, it's just one of those things where I expected more.
Mhm.
Again, if this wasn't called SummerSlam, even if this was like a B pay-per-view, I mean, if it was Clash at Paris coming up, this would have been incredible. But as your number 2 show of the year, what you're trying to make as big as WrestleMania, making it 2 nights, it just didn't hit where you needed it to be. So Night 2, again, I give it a B plus, and then overall I give it a B.
All right. Michael, how about you?
I couldn't say it any better last night. I agreed with you and Matt, who both said last night was a C. I think that was a good rating for it. Tonight, B plus. I don't think we quite cracked that A mark. I think if maybe a couple of those matches would have ended a little differently or had a little more to them, maybe it would have cracked the A. But definitely B plus. Overall B for both nights.
All right, fantastic. Well, I assume John Anthony is caught in traffic at this point in time, trying to get out of MetLife Stadium. At least it's not raining like it happened the last time WrestleMania was there. But either way, I will be back on Suds News tomorrow night at 8 p.m. Eastern, 5 p.m. Pacific, talking all about General Hospital, and then Gate Crashers at 10 p.m. Eastern time, talking about Beyond the Gates. Big Mike, where can everybody find you?
You see it down there by my shoulder at _Big Mike 27 on all socials. You can look that up on YouTube as well, or the Run and Wrestling Podcast. Thank you to the 3 people who have subscribed to us over the past couple of days. You can catch us every Thursday at 7 Eastern, 6 Central. You can also catch me with John Anthony on Friday nights with the SmackDown Shakedown, either sometime following SmackDown, either immediately after or a few hours, just depending on how life works. That's where you can see me.
All right. Michael, where can we catch you? Where can everybody catch you?
You can catch me and my co-host Tori at Kicking Out at 2 PC on Twitter, or at Kicking Out 2 on all the other socials. We go Tuesday nights at 8 Central Standard with our normal podcast show, where we do the basic news that we get from Fightful, and we talk about what we consider our big 3. So each of us pick 3 topics that have happened over the last week. This coming up episode, we'll probably just talk more about the pay-per-view because it'll be just kind of a dump of that between the 2 of us talking about it for the first time. And then on Thursdays, we do a GM mode on 2K. We got that coming up. It's at 9 p.m. Central Standard Time on Thursdays. Aside from that, hit us up on everything, including our Discord. And drink Glitch. And drink W. Drink all the stuff.
All right. Well, we are out of time for tonight. I want to thank the 332 people tuning in live, watching on all the different networks we're on. Just go ahead and hit that subscribe button, hit that like button, subscribe, and turn on the notifications bell. We are all here in the wrestling podcast community, and I also cross over to the soap opera podcast community. But either way, folks, we are out of time. For Michael and Big Mike, I am Vinny. We'll see you on our various shows coming up, starting with tomorrow night's Suds News, Gate Crashers, and Raw Rundown, or Raw Rewind, excuse me. Hopefully you enjoyed SummerSlam. Hopefully you enjoyed our analysis over the past 2 nights as well. And we will talk to you later. Have a good night, everybody.